make almost twice the federal minimum wage, and I am still thousands of dollars below the poverty line.
I got paid $9.49 and my bills equal $9.74.
Yo, what's up, YouTube? Today we're gonna be watching TikToks about people reacting to just how expensive just living in America is, just surviving in here. How everybody's struggling is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of scares me for the future. But yeah, we're just gonna be watching these TikToks. Let me know what you guys all think about them in the comments. But without further ado, let's just hop into them. You know what I'm saying?
I make almost twice the federal minimum wage, and I am still thousands of dollars below the poverty line. I am homeless. I live in my car. I cannot afford to rent an apartment. I can hardly afford to live in my car. Food is expensive. And it's tough times, you know? I work 40 hours a week. I am not in an entry-level position. I am in a skilled position. I make twice the federal minimum wage. And I am poor. And if that isn't the most late stage capitalism thing, if you want to buy me a meal, my Venmo's in my bio.
So double federal minimum wage, that's what, $14.50? I'm in California where the cost of living is like crazy expensive. So over here, like for fast food, the minimum wage is $20. So 14 for a skilled position to me just sounds completely absurd to me. But then again, cost of living in places are different. But then again, he still can't survive where he's living, you know what I'm saying? And I find that stupid because how are you working a full-time job, right? A full-time job means you're dedicating your week, your days, so you can survive and pay everything off, you know what I mean? That should be able to fund your life. And you're working 40 hours, making more than the minimum wage, you know what I'm saying? You're making double the minimum wage and you can't survive. Like, is that not a little crazy? Like that's just unfair, I'm not gonna lie.
I got paid $9.49 and my bills equal $9.74. So I literally work to pay my bills. I never have money for groceries, barely. Sometimes maybe $90 if I'm lucky. I'm gonna have to go to the food pantry again, which is fine. I'm really blessed to have access to that. But I just wish that work meant something. Like, I wish I had enough. Like, I don't even have enough to cover my bills. So now I can only pay half of my power bill. Hopefully they don't want to freaking shut it off on me. Like, people talking about get a different job, it doesn't just work like that. I get 10 hours of sick a month and 10 hours of annual. My daughter has health conditions and I constantly have to be out of work. If I worked any other job, I'd be fired because I would have already taken 7 days off. They fire you if you need more time off because we're economic slaves. We work for this economy, but this economy doesn't work for us. Most of us are old, retired, living off a disability and security.
Bro, that's hella sad to be honest, how well, for one, her pay barely covers her rent, you know what I'm saying? And two, that she can't get any other job or anything because I guess her job is the only job that's tolerant enough of her situation with her sick daughter, which, you know, I hope that gets better, you know what I'm saying?
Complaining about not having enough. That's the American dream. All of us living off of the government, upset. Yeah, okay. And I don't get assistance because they say I make too much. I definitely made too much this check. I have enough for the groceries and then some, huh? Like, if I could just skip my bills, I'd have enough money to go get my car taken care of. Like, fuck the bills, let me just go freaking get my oil changed, my tires rotated, my brakes done, my alignment fixed, my steering column fixed. Like, that would be great. Especially because my car eats 2 quarts of oil every 500 miles. So I have to constantly put oil in it because I was scanned from my car dealership. I was like, just wanting to get groceries this check, honestly.
To be honest, I'm not gonna lie, that's hella sad, and I hope it gets better for her. But what she was saying at the end, that ties into what I've said in other videos, where a lot of Americans, or from the videos that I've watched and things I've read and stuff, so basically, Americans are barely making enough to survive, you know what I'm saying? So every American, or not every American, but a lot of them, they're only one accident away, right? So if you get in a car crash, like if you get crazy sick, if you get injured or something, that will derail your entire life, and you can end up on the streets just like that, you know what I'm saying?
I remember I made a video saying that you cannot budget your way out of a bad economy, and what happens when the billionaires finally squeeze people for their last drop of money. And people were saying, well, everyone just starts working for low wages, everyone just starts working, everyone in the comments was basically saying that everyone just starts to obey. But the secret third option that nobody accounted for was people begin to rebel. And not collectively rebel, individuals are rebelling. It's easy to snuff out a collective, very easy. Get in, do your little thing, get out. But it's harder when it's just an individual because there's not anything pushing them. They're just sick of tired of being sick and tired. And when you finally reach that point where you're at your lowest of low and you're sick of tired and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you're gonna do something. And it's not always just like, the resistance that's being formed where people just throwing stuff into houses and threatening them. There's also people aren't paying their taxes resistance. Resistance can look like anything. People are leaving the workforce and getting more into entrepreneurship because they're tired of it. People are rebelling in different kind of ways. So for everyone who said everyone's just gonna obey and lay down, look around. No one's doing that.
At this point, I seriously think Gen Z is just screwed. In 2026, Gen Z just simply earns way less than it costs to survive. The average Gen Zer makes about $25K a year, which is around $21,000 a month, and spends basically all of it on bills or rent. Nearly half of Gen Z runs out of money before the end of the month ends, and that's not just budgeting, that's just survival at that point. And don't get me started on student loan debt, because the average Gen Zer also has about $30K of student loan debt on top of all of that. We are spending more on essentials than any other previous generation, and wages just keep going down, and the cost of living just keeps going up. You're not failing in life. The system is just has completely fucked us over. Budgeting does help, don't get me wrong. I still use mine to budget and track all of my expenses, but the system is still failing us.
So as of this morning, I have a real estate agent and a mortgage loan officer. Why? Why, you ask? Because you cannot live in the state of Georgia in a studio apartment for under about $1,600 a month. Don't get me started on one bedroom. Don't get me started, okay? And I've been looking for months. Okay, here we go. So even on the cheap end, the cheap places, $1,250 to $1,350 for a studio, and in like farther out areas, these are decently sized, like 750 square feet. In the city, like between 400 and 550 square feet. So you don't even have room for a desk. Cool. Okay, moving on. So the cheap places are going to charge you $1,250 to $1,350. They're going to charge you $100 for a cable fee, which when you call, they'll say, oh, that's just Wi-Fi. Okay, well, Xfinity can give me Wi-Fi for $45 a month, so why are you charging me $100? Besides the point. And they're going to charge you $25 for valet trash. You can't opt out. You have to pay it. They're going to charge you between $25 and $50 a month for parking. Okay, so we're already at $1,350 plus $100 plus another $100. Okay, so we're at $1,550 before utilities. So then you throw on Georgia Power and you throw on water sewer. And depending on what city you're in, water sewer could be really expensive because they're working water sewer projects. So your sewer bill might be $70 on its own, plus water, plus power, which on the low end's $100. So it's $1,600 to $1,700 anywhere just to rent an apartment, and not even a good one. I'm losing my fucking mind.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent. Yes, my kids are grown adults. My oldest is 28, my youngest is 25. And I thought by teaching them what I learned, which is you work hard, you get a good job, you're going to get the things in life that you need, right? Worked for me, why wouldn't it work for them? Because it doesn't. Because the world has fucking changed, all right? And now I feel like I see them struggling. And before my generation comes at me, yes, I understand struggling is a part of life. We all struggled. But there's a difference between struggling and drowning, all right? So we struggled and it was tough. But you know what? We made it. We knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel with our struggle. It seems like kids today, no matter how much they struggle, they just get further and further down the water into the drowning point, all right? When I was there...
Oh, yeah, not gonna lie. What she's talking about is like back to the one where like her pay was just more than her rent. Like that's her drowning. I mean, she's like really jumping up and out of the water, like surviving, and then like anything can happen. boom, you're done. You just can't even recover, you know what I'm saying?
Age, I was making less than $10 an hour, and I could afford to live on my own. Now you have to be making six-figure salary to get a decent, tiny little place to live. So what the fuck is going on, and how do we help them as parents? I told my son, all you have to do is work hard, go to college, or join the military like I did. He went to college, got his degree, got a full-time job. He moved back in with me right when he graduated from college because he said, hey, Mom, as soon as I get a job, which was within 2 weeks of him getting out of college, maybe take me 2 months and I'll save up enough money for me to move out. Okay, cool. It's been 10 months. He has saved almost every dime and still can't afford to live. Why are one-bedroom studio apartments almost $2,000 a month? Why? Like, I just don't get it. So I don't even think that there's even classes anymore. There used to be, upper class, middle class, lower class. It's literally turning into the ultra wealthy, and then everybody else is just poor. Like, that's what it's happening. And then I told him, hey, when you turn 25, at least your car insurance will go down. Hell no, he turned 25 and his car insurance went up $150. I tell him, if you need health insurance, get a good job. He has health insurance. He has had a medical emergency this week. Had to go to emergency room twice. He had to go to the emergency room because he couldn't get anybody to see him with the health insurance that he had. Right? So he had to go to an emergency room. Now he's out money for that too. It seems like you can never get ahead. And then my daughter, I told her all you have to do because she wanted to buy her own house. My daughter worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day to save up enough for this down payment. Finally got this house. She's paying double what I'm paying for my mortgage, but her loan was the same amount. And then her mortgage company, after she's already moved in, said, oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you that you need this type of coverage, which we forgot at the beginning. That's an extra $200 you've been paying a month. And all they see when they come home is they watch social media, kids their age on lavish vacations with all this money and nothing to do, all these social media influencers, because we value those types of things over hard workers. We will pay them $10,000, but you work 40 hours a week, you can't afford it. Well, I had an eye-opening experience with my son this weekend. So my son graduated from college 6 months ago. And when he graduated, he was going to move back in with us so that he could find a job here in this local area and save up enough money to move out on his own. Had no problem with that. So it's been about 6 months. He has saved almost every single dime. He works a 40-hour-a-week job, makes $40,000 a year, which back in my day was sustainable to be able to live. Apparently that's not the case anymore. You can't live on $40,000, which makes no sense to me. So we were looking online at Zillow, Google to find apartments and houses within his budget, a house to rent because he has a dog. So we said, let's write them all down and let's go check them out because pictures don't tell you what's really going on, y'all. So we drove around to some of these and I can't even tell you, some of them I didn't even feel comfortable driving down the street. They were in really, really shady parts of town, looked like a war zone. The whole house looked like it was off kilter. A lot of work to be, it just looked like it should be uninhabitable. Don't rent this. It should just be tore down, right? And then when we went to apartments, these apartments that were within his price range, and when I say price range, they were still going for $800 a month. These $800 a month apartments, I didn't feel comfortable with him living in these apartments. When I say those two look like they should have just been torn the hell down, they should have been. The only ones that are decent, he found a studio apartment that's in a nice neighborhood, $1,400 for 485 square feet. That is more than my mortgage, right? And then regular apartments, not even glamorous apartments, just one bedroom apartment that has normal square.
I think something that that we need to really focus on is how that rent is more expensive than the mom's mortgage, you know what I'm saying, for a house.
Footage is anywhere from $1,300 to $1,700. We live in Montgomery, Alabama. We're not in a big metropolitan area. I don't understand how the housing market has gotten so donkey. Okay. And everybody says, well, then he should just buy a house since it's cheaper. Mortgage is less than rent. Well, nobody will give him a mortgage loan because he has no credit. Not that he has bad credit. He has no credit. He didn't want to get into debt. So he doesn't have any credit to show for it. So it's like a lose-lose situation. I don't know how they're living. I don't know if he can move out right now because I personally don't feel comfortable with the places he can afford moving to, and he can't afford the normal standard shit that I would have afforded back when. How are people doing this, and how do we expect our young kids, he's not young, he's 25, but how do we expect our youth to get ahead? Really.
I commute to work just like 40% of Americans. Almost half the country has to commute to work. So when gas prices are going up, the bulk of the country, like me, is just like, this is a big deal. We might consider public transit. But let's do some numbers about public transit, y'all. Where I live, I have to take a bus to get to the train that would get me close to my job. That bus ride one way is $5. When I get to the train station to get on the train, I'll have to buy a ticket for $14. Bare minimum. That is almost $20 just one way on the public transit. But when I get off of the train, there is
No, because 20 minute or $20 to get to work, right? And the federal minimum wage is $7.25. 7 times 8, that's like 56. You make 50, and then you got to pay for it to go back. That's $40. You're making $56 about, and then you spend $40 getting to work and home, and that's not even including taxes. Like what? How does it make sense that the economy makes it so you can't even afford to go to work?
no bus from the train station to my job properly. So I'd have to call an Uber to go the last 12-minute drive for about $12 on a good day. Now, I could get a bike or an e-bike or scooter or something like that and just, scoot and all that. But there are no sidewalks. Half of the way, not even half the way, a third of the way to my job from the train station, the sidewalks disappear and there are no bike lanes. I'd be in the middle of the street hoping that I don't get run over. Okay? $20 one way. That is $40 a day. That is $200 a week, 5 days a week, just to get to work and back home on public transit. This gets worse, okay? It's $800 a month. If I think about my car, I have a 20-gallon tank. And if gas is $4, okay, it's not there just yet, it's almost there, but if it's $4, and I usually fill up twice a week, that means it's $80 a fill up.
Hey, bro, just by the way, bro, in Cali, it's like $6.30, by the way, for gas.
$160 a week. That is $40 cheaper than public transit. Do y'all get it yet? The United States is making public transit as inconvenient as they can. They don't run very often, bad service that's limited, just to inconvenience you enough to force you to get a car. Because the gas and oil companies do not want to see people taking public transit.
We're not gonna lie, as like a teenager and kid around this era, or like this time, I guess, I used to take bus everywhere, and like it would take so long. Like what's it called? A 10-minute drive could be like an hour bus. You know what I mean? And it's just you're forced to take that extra 50 minutes of a ride to get to your to get to where you want to be because you don't have a car. You don't have any other way. You know what I mean? And the routes are so like. I guess because it's not as prioritized by governments, I guess, or something, then it's not really covering as much area, or it covers a big area, but it goes in like a big range, you know what I'm saying? So it hits a lot of places, but it does take a while if you just want to go straight, you know what I'm saying?
They want to make sure you are stuck getting a car by making it as inconvenient as they can to take public transit. This is on purpose. This is why the United States doesn't have bullet trains. This is why we don't have a train system here. This is why all major cities don't have a logical busing system. This is why the major cities don't have biking lanes and bike paths away from the cars so people can get to work and get around and go shopping and things on bikes and scooters instead of driving. This is why it's done on purpose in the United States to appease the gas and oil companies. But also, they make you register your car and get a license plate and a license. It's a lot of money going back to your local governments. And also, it really pays a lot to have to get your tires checked and get your car serviced so all those mechanics get money. This is all a capitalistic dream. They have trapped us into car living to keep all of these industries alive and well. And I'm not saying I want to see mechanics lose their jobs. No, people will always have cars, but we should be given the opportunity to have choice. But that's not the case with the United States. And I think more people need to come to terms with we are living in the bad place that wants to make sure we are trapped financially so they can milk us for as much money as they can. They're trying to nickel and dime us, which is why taking public transit from my house to my job is the actual more expensive option right now. Now, when gas if it gets to $5, because that's what Iran's telling us to prepare for because Trump made mistakes, I might be singing a different tune, but the level of inconvenience, waking up much earlier to catch the train and the buses and things and getting home later versus just paying the extra for gas, I might have to do the gas and continue to drive. But I feel for all the people who don't have a public transit option in most states because they don't want it to be convenient. Y'all have a good day.
Yeah, to be honest, I think there is a big issue, and not gonna lie, I'm graduating soon, and like this is not something that I'm looking forward to. I'm not gonna lie, but my audience is older people, so or not to be rude or anything, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I read all the comments, even if I don't like them or nothing. I might read all of them. I usually heart the ones that I agree with and stuff like that, or the ones that just don't attack me or whatever. But it's just like I'm just watching TikToks, bro. But anyways, like and subscribe. Hope you guys have a good day. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.